what we have to do to keep these areas alive. Because guys, your balls end up there. You got to hit from it sometimes. And if you're hitting off the dirt, then you're going to be mad at me. And so, also at the club here, we've done an awesome job with the help of Steve and his golf staff and the rest of the community here and the Greens Committee. Is we've implemented the 90-degree rule that's year-round. If we're going to have these ugly traffic areas, we want them by the cart path. We don't want them down the middle of the fairway where everybody gets on the fairway and heads for home. You know, I understand. I play golf. I've been with everybody out here a few times. That, you know, sometimes it slips your mind, but that's why we have these seminars. That's why I have newsletters. That's why we have meetings, just to constantly remind everyone that, hey, get on the path if you can. So, you got the clicker. In conclusion, aerification is necessary. We've got to remove the organic material. We've got to try to amend what's underneath the ground up here. Without aerification, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the course that we do for the remaining 9 to 10 months. So it's a huge part of what we do. Yes, it takes place in the summertime and annoys some of the people that are here all summer, but it's unfortunate. Grass just grows in the summer. If it grew in the winter, we do it in the winter. I must say that since I've been here, I appreciate everybody's help as a member and as a board member or a Greens Committee member to help be part of this family and to buy into this process, to buy into what I think that we need to do. But I think that if we wouldn't have the product we had now, nobody would sit here and believe anything we have to say. So thank you from me and my staff for buying into our program. That should conclude it. If anybody wants to get some of these shoes and help us out in a couple of weeks, you know, still up to it, you know, you might lose a few LBs. Yes, sir.
I have 3 points. One, great presentation, well prepared. I'm in sales. You guys did a great job. I learned a lot. My only disappointment is that, and that's my second point, is that I think every member here needs to grab 3 or 4 other people for the next one. So, because most of us here, we're all supporters, but we're tired of these guys that don't understand and complain. They have such a great golf course, great conditions that you and Matt provide, that we need to bring them in. That's our responsibility, to bring in, you know, triple or quadruple the people we have. And the last point is, just thanks for doing a great job. I mean, this course, I play all over. This course is in the best shape I've ever seen it. And you know, you guys did it over the last 3 years or so. Unbelievable job. My confidence.
Thank you. Thank you, and that is much needed for our staff. I mean, there's times where these guys are very, very tough to motivate, and it's hot and it's tough work. It's blue collar, you know. Me and Maddie, we get out there and we get it done with them, and I'll pass those words along. They'll appreciate that. They love working for this company and for all of you members. So. Right now, if anybody has any questions, if you don't feel like you want to ask a question, I mean, I recommend it. Write it down, slip it over here, hand it to me. I can try to email you, you know. But right now is a good time to ask questions. You all are the advocates for this club. You go and play with these groups, and you get the word out.
I would like to make a recommendation. I totally reinforce the comments I made so far, but if you put a special invitation out to the Grasslands members.
Yep.
Okay, the second thing is, what is the impact?
Complain more than me?
What is the impact of overseeding on what you've done here?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the
overseeding.
What is the impact on?
Yeah, we have decided not to overseed because it had an impact, negative impact on what you're doing here.
Okay. That's a whole other seminar. I'm going to do my best to answer that the best I can in a short amount of time. Overseed is introducing a new grass to an area that already has existing grass on it. It'd be like this, Fred. If you and I went to dinner, it'd be like we have to split a meal. You know what I mean? So in the that's not fun.
No. You and I are good examples for that.
No. So what happens is the same amount of food and the same amount of space. We not only have to split a meal, but we have to share a chair. So and what happens in the wintertime, the Bermudagrass shuts down, and that overseed takes over, and it really starts to grow and it pushes roots. Well, then as soon as it gets hot, that overseed dies. So now we're left with all this organic, that dead material of thatch that died, it's just another piece of the turf that we've got to get out. If we do not overseed, then we just have the one guy there, and he shuts down in the winter and doesn't produce any thatch, and in the summer he wakes up and he eats and he does his thing. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? That would be a whole other seminar, which could be really interesting, but overseeding for us is, I don't think we need to do it yet.
Whoever made the decision,
whoever
made the decision to overseed in the practice area, what a brilliant idea.
Yeah, well,
Everybody,
that
turned out good.
well, nobody plays on that. It's the driving range.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the target.
The target.
Yeah.
As far as married female members, the women's, Fred, I'm supposed to name women friends that belong here, but we'll bring a bunch, okay?
Okay, perfect. Well, you know, the invitation went out to the GWGA president, the people that sat on the board of governors, and then, of course, it's in all the news publications. And we did have a few women RSVP. They're not here right now, but, you know, it is what it is. So.
Much nicer, much healthier fairways earlier on than as opposed to a course that does overseed their entire fairway. Second, it starts to warm up, get some fertilizer. That grass right there, being left alone and not having to share space, is going to just
Man, what have you guys done? Because the last couple of years, in the wintertime, the fairways are green. I mean, they're greener than they've ever been. Is that just fertilizer?
It's a combination. It's a combination of having deep roots and having healthy turf. It's not just, we don't just dump the fertilizer on there because you all have heard publications on television. If you put too much fertilizer on it, it'll run into your waterways and go other places. It's all about our management style. Keeping the aerification active. Don't overseed, so there's not a transition because there's not two different grasses competing for the same little bit of food. And at the same time, with the traffic, control with stakes and signs, we keep people off the fairways if we can. We keep them on the path, keep them in the rough, and at the same time, we go out and we feed as we need. If we see a warm trend, coming from up north, and we don't have a cool front, Matt and I will load up, we'll go out and get everything sprayed out, get the fertilizer down, try to get conditions better. We're proactive. We're not reactive. And I think that this club was very reactive for a long time. And when something happened, they would jump and try to fix it. Here, we're not doing that. We try to forecast the best that we can. Our crystal ball is broken half the time. But we go out and we try to do preventative things. We try to be proactive and try to grow grass when the conditions are perfect. Bart, you had your hand up twice.
Yeah, I was going to comment about the overseeding, and I remember when the decision was first made a couple, 3 years ago, and a lot of the discussions were, now we're going to start saving money and I'm not going to overseed. But I think that is being gone beyond that.
Yeah, that's what's very.
Because you've proven to us that we don't need to overseed, and as far as I'm concerned, what I've been told, we overseed just for, like, I played at Saddlebrook on Monday. And that overlay, that's a resort type course, and they've got to overseed. And that green stuff, it's sticky as can be. You have it in the rough. Anyway, that being said, I think you've proven to us that we don't need to do that here.
Well, yeah.
Second thing, question I was going to ask you was: is there a rule of thumb as far as a green? How long a green should last? And using the math that you've just given us, we're basically replacing 15% a year.
Right. So in your head, you think, okay, in about 6 to 8 years.
Well, I'm thinking 5 or 6 years, we got to do green.
Right, you do. In theory, okay.
Right, well, here, where I'm coming from is, the course was built in 1990, and we had our dilemma in 96, so our greens were basically 16 years old. And then I've heard a lot of people say, well, greens aren't supposed to last but 10 or 15 years anyway. But you got to look over at Lone Palm, and they had theirs for 40 years before they replaced them. And I got two friends that play at Buckhorn. I don't think they've ever replaced them out there.
Yeah, well,
they're not worth a damn, but still.
Yeah, Buckhorn.
Yeah. They're not worth a damn, but still. I'm going, how long should a green last?
In theory, okay, there's a lot of things that go into a green. There's a rock layer. That's a whole other seminar. You're bringing up great points. We're going to have this one next. You have a rock and drainage layer beneath a green. You have a green that's made of a certain material. Over time, that material changes. It breaks down. The drainage starts to fail. It collapses. Whether that number is 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's unknown.